Shalom, welcome to Janet's Kosher Kitchen. Today we are going to be making Crescent almond cookies. This is an adaptation from America's Test Kitchen. The ingredients that we're going to use today are 1 3/4 cup of toasted almonds. Now what we did with the almonds is we toasted them, making sure not to burn them, and we toasted a cup of them. We chopped a cup of them pretty coarsely, and then the other 3/4 of the cup we chopped pretty finely, but we can put them all together. We have 2 cups of flour, we have 3/4 cups of salt, 2 sticks of butter. If you want to make this vegan, you can use Earth Balance. If you want to make a parve, you can use Fleischmann's margarine. Though when I make a parve, I use the Earth Balance. I think it works better with baking than the Fleischmann's. And a 1/3 cup of the sugar, which is the extra fine sugar. Now you can buy extra fine sugar in the grocery stores, though I've never seen it. To make extra fine sugar, all you need to do is put it in the food processor and pulse it for 3 or 4 times, and you have extra fine sugar. So that's a real easy thing to do. I am then going to mix the nuts, the flour, and the salt into a mixing bowl and put that aside. Because we'll be using that a little bit later. The next thing that we're going to do is put the butter, we're going to cream the butter and the superfine sugar with our mix master. And when they say to cream it well, they really mean to cream it well. So we're going to spend a little time creaming our butter and our sugar. Sometimes the butter gets like pumped up into the mix master paddle, so when I turn it on a little bit higher, it kind of loosens it up. And to that, I'm going to be adding my vanilla, which is 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now, I really love vanilla in recipes, so I usually go a little bit heavy on the vanilla, and I do that in almost all the recipes that I use. So now what I'm going to do is get this creamed butter off the paddle and take a look at what's on the side and get this all together so that it can be creamed together. I'm going to be doing that one more time to make sure it's all mixed well together. You can see that it's starting to cream nicely, but there's still some stuff on the paddle of the mix master that I want to get in there. Here, there's a nice little clump of butter there. Even though the butter was softened, it still can be a little bit more difficult to cream with everything else. Now that's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty smooth, nice light color. And all we're going to do now is put the flour mixture in here. Put the flour mixture in here, and read what I do with my flour mixture right here. Go put the flour mixture in there, and we're going to mix it just until it hits a cohesive ball. We don't want to overbeat this at this point. You can see how it's starting to come together. And that is about it. We have our dough made. So now I'm going to put all the stuff aside, and I'm going to take out my prepared pan, which is just an aluminum pan. I use parchment paper on it because then I don't have to grease it. And what I do is I have this scoop. You can use any size scoop you want. You can use a tablespoon, a teaspoon, depending on the size of cookie you want. And I take a heaping teaspoon of this, put it in my hand, heaping tablespoon, excuse me. Put it in my hand so that it kind of smooths out and becomes warm. And then you can make this into any shape that you want. I tend to make it into a crescent shape, but you can make it into a log. You can make it into a ball. A lot of people make them into balls. I'm not sure why I like the crescent shape so much, but I think it's because that's how I made them when I first started making these cookies. So here's another one. I'm just going to warm it up with my hands. And sometimes you need to have to go back over it and kind of smooth it out and make sure that it's the right shape, the shape that you want it to be. So I'm going to continue this until I have a whole pan of these cookies. This recipe makes about 16 cookies this size using a heaping tablespoon. Before I bake them, I put butter, melted butter, on each of the cookies, and then I sprinkle them with sugar, and that really gives it a nice, crisp, smooth, sugary taste when it's all done. And I just use my fingers and sprinkle some sugar, and this is just regular sugar from the jar, from the container, however you use it. And then they go into the oven, and they cook at 325 for about 19 minutes. So I'll set my timer. And when they are ready, we will be back. And I'll show you how we finish them up. So it's been 17 minutes, and the cookies are done. So I'll take them out of the oven, and oh, they look good. Nice and crescent shaped, a little golden on the edges, and I'll put them on my cookie rack. Now these have to cool before I put the powdered sugar on them, and some of the recipes that you will find will tell you to put the confectioner sugar on the cookies when they're still warm. I happen to like putting them on when they're cold, because when they're warm they get a little bit pasty, in my opinion. So I like doing them when they are nice and cool. Now this one doesn't look so much like a crescent, so I'm going to leave that and let somebody in the household eat it. So I'm going to let these cool. It'll take about 20 minutes for it to cool. And once that is done, the easiest way to go ahead and put confectioner sugar on these cookies is just to use your old-fashioned sifter. I have parchment paper underneath it, and I generously apply the confectioner sugar because that is what makes it extra special yummy. Now, these can be saved. You can freeze them. You can put them in an airtight container and they'll stay for a week or so. Freezing them, they can stay for several months. And they look absolutely beautiful. They taste great. If you do save them for a while, I suggest that just before you serve them, you go ahead and put another thin coating of confectioner sugar on them. Bitte, fun.